Welcome to the Morning Report, a production of fightbackmedia.com, the #1 source of urban conservative information in America.
Good morning. My name is Willie Lawson, and welcome to the Morning Report. The Morning Report is a production of fightbackmedia.com, 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 and fightbackmediatv.com. We hope that you are good this Tuesday morning. Wow. Monday just slipped right by us. Did you notice that Monday just came in like, oops, and then it was gone? Last night was the first night of the DNC. I'm not going to tell you that I watched it. I'm just, you see, I have hypertension and I take medication, so there isn't any reason in the world that I would watch that, listen to the lies, and get any of that stuff in my spirit. So, unless you like being angry, unless you really like being angry, unless you really need someone to poke you in the chest and poke you in the eye to get you going, unless you really need that, yeah, don't watch it. Some people like it. I don't. I really don't. Because right now we live in a world, we can find out later what happened. So speaking during the first night of the DNC in Chicago, former president, did I say former president? I said President Joe Biden delivered remarks to an arena full of delegates and influencers that were supposed to be nominating him for a second term. Now, these are the people who donated to the campaign. These are the people who went to the polls and voted for him in the primaries in all the states in the union. And tonight they were supposed to be nominating him to run for a second term. However, what happened was the cabal, the elite in the party, decided, no, we know he got 14 million votes. We know that his base is supporting him. They've said so, but we really don't care. We really don't give a damn what they think. We just don't care. So what we're going to do, we're going to push him out, and then we're going to bring in Kamala. We're going to push Joe out. We're going to bring in Kamala. I know this is who you wanted, but this is what we're giving you. Oh, yeah. And Tim Walz. This is the party that talks about protecting our democracy. Well, they had a democratic process, which they just ignored. Does anybody else see that? They had a democratic process, and then they just said, F it, we're not doing that. Okay. Anyway, during the end of his speech, it started about an hour late, which is typical for these folks, and went well past midnight. I was just about to nod off into nod land when that happened, I guess. Biden said thousands of pro-Islamic terrorist activists have a point when they call for the globalizing of the Intifada. Now, what does that word mean? It means murder. Globalizing the Intifada equates to the murder and the suicide bombing of innocent people in buses, cafes, nightclubs, pizza joints, and cafes. That's the Intifada. Now, I'm just watch the clip. Just watch the clip. Go ahead.
As you know, I wrote a peace treaty for Gaza. A few days ago, I put forward a proposal that brought us closer to doing that than we've done since October 7th. We're working around the clock, my Secretary of State, to prevent a wider war and reunite hostages with their families and surge humanitarian health and food assistance into Gaza now. To end the civilian suffering of the Palestinian people, and finally deliver a ceasefire and end this war.
As you can tell, he's still sort of struggling. It's real late for him. So I don't know, they pumped him up with some was a Red Bull or whatever and sent him out there, and he's fired up and he's slamming his fist and all that stuff. I don't really care about any of that stuff. But anyway, I care about what they say, and we have to listen carefully to what they say or don't say. He didn't mention any of the names of the American hostages still being held by Iranian-backed Hamas in Gaza. They're still, I don't know. People realize that they are Americans being held by Hamas. Now, when Brittany Griner, the basketball player who took her vape with her THC in it to Russia, people were freaking the hell out. We need to get Brittany home. Bring Brittany home. When she clearly broke their laws. Clearly. After leaving here, sort of, giving the middle finger to America and America's values and America's people, and at least half of America's people. It was a full-on press, full court press to bring Brittany home, to show Putin. But there are American hostages held by Hamas. Now, I think that sometimes we forget too quickly what started all this. So what's on the screen now is part of what started this mess. What started this mess wasn't that the Israelis are just sick of the Palestinians and just started bombing their crap. Not what happened. What happened was that at a music festival on October 7th, people were enjoying a good time, and with some ultralights and the like, they were attacked, and a couple, almost 2,000 people were murdered that day by Hamas. Instead of Hamas really building up the infrastructure of Gaza, which they have been in charge of, which they have been charged with doing, they decided that they would start a war. And then use what they normally do, use all the press, all the international press, to make Israel look like the bad player here, which they know works. And finally, with all of this nonsense going on outside of the DNC, which we all told you would happen. We all said this would happen. Yeah, the weird thing is the Free Palestine right next to the trans flag. Y'all, really? Seriously? So they still continue to court the pro-terrorism voters in Michigan and other places as part of our strategy to win. Think about that. They have to somehow appease the people who are calling for the destruction of Israel and globalizing the Intifada, which is basically globalizing the terrorism, in order to win. And they tell me that they're in the mainstream. What do you think? Write it in the comments. If you see it on TikTok, write it in the comments. If you see this on Rumble, write it in the comments. Go ahead. Anyway, I got to get out of here. Make room for somebody else. So until we see you again, go out there and learn to love somebody. And for goodness sakes, y'all take care of yourself. We will see you when we see you. Bye-bye now.